Everyone was standing in a queue. There was a ladies queue, then there was the men's queue. So when it was my time to fill up the form and the checklist, I then saw that on the checklist there were a lot of boxes, and all of those boxes that were supposed to be ticked off from that form that I was signing, most of those boxes, they were of STIs. So I saw that on my checklist, the form that I was filling, I then saw that the results were all negative. I was then allowed to enter into the entrance. I saw that two of the women that had been brought to that party, they were then told that they could not enter into that mansion. I think that some plans were made so that they can be returned to wherever they had been taken from. Then the party started. When the party started, I then saw that everyone was heavy doing drugs. A lot of people would come to the place where I was sitting, and I swear that a lot of people even encouraged me to take the drugs that were being taken in that place, and they told me that for me to enjoy the experience, it was going to be far much better if I was going to take the drugs as well. My brother, there were so many exotic meat on the menu, and most of this exotic meat that was on the menu, it was being eaten and cooked, but I didn't eat anything. The only thing that I was drinking, it was just a little bit of alcohol, and I was a little bit embarrassed because I was now all alone. My boyfriend was all over the place, and he just left me just sitting there without any friends or anyone. And all of these people that were attending that all-white party, they were all strangers to me. When I lost sight of my boyfriend, I then decided to go outside so that I can look for him, because at the back of that mansion, there was a place where people were having fun and a little braai there, and there was a DJ that was playing some music at the back. So I thought that maybe my boyfriend had gone to the back, but when I went there, I didn't see my boyfriend anyway. As I was returning to the mansion, that was when I met this other woman. She was amongst the women that were acting as waitresses, so she offered me a cocktail, but I was not sure what it was made of. Then I started drinking. As I was drinking from that glass, that was when this other man approached me. The man, when he approached me, he told me how beautiful I was. From there on, I don't know what really happened. All that I know is that we went upstairs. As we were going upstairs, this man, all that I remember is that he kept on telling me how much beautiful I was and how beautiful my body was, because as I was going upstairs, he was walking behind me whilst he was looking at my hips and everything. When we went upstairs, there was this other pool area, and when I saw everything that was happening in the pool, I saw that a lot of abusive behavior was being done by these wealthy men towards their girlfriends, the ones that they had inside the swimming pool. Then that man who had brought me upstairs, he said that we should get into the pool. I didn't have any swimming costume at all. Then he proceeded by stripping me naked. I was only left with a bra and just a small underwear that I was wearing underneath. Then he dragged me into the pool. When we entered into the pool, that abusive tendency, I saw it coming out of him, because he kept on dragging me underneath the water, and he finally said to me, I want you to give me a BJ whilst you are underwater. It is very nice. But from there on, I refused. I then climbed out of the swimming pool. After I had climbed out of the swimming pool, he followed me and he took me to this other room. So when we entered into that room, I saw that there were very big dogs, like those big farm dogs that the white people keep. There were two of them inside that room. When I looked around, I noticed that this room, it was really smelly. Everywhere in that room, there was dog poo. Then I noticed that there were 2 more girls that were brought into that same room. But these girls, from the way that they were speaking, I immediately recognized that these girls, they were from Zim. When they entered into that room with their client, they started making love to their client everywhere, not caring whether they were stepping on top of the dog poo or anything. That was when one of the Zim girl was forced to eat poo, and the other one, she was then forced to poo on the floor. After she had finished pooing on the floor, that was when the men that had brought them into that room then started having sexual intercourse with her before she could even wipe herself off. But that man was not having intercourse with her from her private part, but from the back. And after he had finished having intercourse with her, I saw that his manhood came out covered with poo. It was really disgusting. He then forced those 2 women from Zim to start licking that dirty manhood of his. My brother, this was like the most disgusting thing that had ever happened to me. That man then proceeded to have intercourse with me. I felt like vomiting, and I was so dry that when he was having intercourse with me, it was really painful because I kept on looking around, and the smell, it was just horrible. The whole night ended, my brother, when I was being taken from one room into another by that man, as if the man was living his best fantasy. I only got to see my boyfriend late in the evening, because when the morning came, there was a car that came and picked me up, and I was offered some money, and I was told that this money was from my boyfriend. I was excited a little bit because he had given me somewhere around 14,000 rands, and this was like the first time for me to have such a huge sum of money. But as I was sitting in my room, I kept on asking myself, what is it exactly that had happened when I was at that white party? I was really angry at my Nigerian boyfriend, and I could not wait to confront him. I waited all day long because at that time when that car had came to pick me up, it didn't take me straight back to his apartment, but it took me straight to the place where I was staying with some of the students. So he then texted me and told me that there were some business dealings that he was busy handling, and after handling those business dealings, he was going to come and to attend to me. He then apologized to me for not being around, and he said that when he was at that place, what he was doing is that he was trying to secure a future for me, so that by the time that I will leave university, immediately after leaving university, I was going to get a job, because he said that the man who was with me throughout the night, that man had found me to be very interesting, and he had suggested that after I had finished my university studies, he wanted me to become his PA, even though he didn't tell me this man's name and his company's name, but he said that this man is quite a very successful businessman, and this was going to be like the biggest opportunity of my life. So throughout the day, Brother Nashi, even though a lot of horrible stuff had happened to me, but I kept on giving myself hope, because this thing of being told that soon after I had finished my university studies, I was going to become like a PA to one man who was a very successful businessman, it was quite attractive to me. So I kept my hope until the evening came. When the evening came, that was when this man called me, and he told me that he was at OR Tambo Airport and he was flying out of South Africa. I was shocked, Brother Nashi. I said, hey, what do you mean that right now you are about to board a plane, you are returning to Nigeria? Then he said, no, I am only going to Nigeria just for a couple of days. Before you even realize it, I'll be back. My brother, he went back to his country, and he never spoke with me, because he had promised me that the moment that he was going to land in his country, I was going to be like the first person that he was going to call He had even promised that he was going to speak with his parents and we were going to have a meeting on the phone, and he wanted to tell them that I was the woman that he wanted to get married to. I still had hope, my brother. When the days went by, I kept on asking myself that, is there anything wrong that happened? Maybe the aeroplane never reached Nigeria. But as the weeks went by, I then realized that this man that I thought really loved me, he had used me. I don't know if he had used me for ritual money, or maybe he was just paid by these rich people to go around looking for young desperate South Africans so that he can invite me to that all-white party. And after inviting me to that all-white party, then they can do whatever they wanted to do with me. This thing that happened to me, my brother, it has left quite a dark mark in my heart. I can't even erase everything that happened throughout that night, because the image that is still stuck on my mind when that woman who was from Zim, as she was just squatting on the floor, busy pouring, then after that, before she could even wipe herself, there was then that other guy who had brought them into that room came, and after that man had came, then he started having intercourse with her deliberately. He didn't have intercourse with her using a private part, but he opted to have intercourse with her using a backside. Then after that, he made them to do a very disgusting thing of letting them to clean up his manhood using their mouth. My brother, I have never been able to wipe that image that is still stuck in my head. I don't know if this is the trauma or what is going on with me. But what pains me the most is that this guy, when he went back to his country, he never wanted to speak with me, and he never wanted to initiate any form of communication between me and him. I do not even have any of his relatives' numbers. And when I was dating this guy, there was a time when he had told me that he wanted to give me his sister's number, who is also there in his country. But at that time, I didn't think that I was going to need numbers. If only I had taken the numbers. I wanted to ask him, why is it he took me to that all-white party where a lot of bad stuff and nasty stuff was being done? When I had been taken upstairs, Brother Nashi, at that pool area, a lot of abusive stuff was being done. If you think that you know gender-based violence, I have never seen such violence in my life. Those women, they were going through abuse. And from the look of things, it seemed as if those women that were going through all that abuse, they were prostitutes that had been hired, especially for them to be abused by those wealthy men. I don't know if it is a fantasy or what, but I still ask myself a lot of questions as to why did that guy drag me upstairs and take me to a filthy room that had dog poo all over the place. And as he was making love to me, he was really excited, even when he saw that I was really dry down there, because all my feelings were gone because of the filthy smell and everything nasty that was taking place in that room. But when I was dry, it was like he was enjoying the pain that I was feeling in that moment. Yo, dear listeners, right there was a message that we received via our WhatsApp number. If you have ever dated a blesser and strange things happened when you were in that relationship, please feel free to come and tell us your story.